Well, hello again and welcome back. Apologies for the shorts, it's a very hot day today, and here's a job I've been promising myself for rather a long time, and that is to replace the brake pads on the rear brakes here. I knew the pads were worn when I bought the car. I've done over 2,000 miles since then, and to be honest, they're absolutely gone now. If you compare the old pad down there with this new one, you can see the amount of meat that is missing. Anyway, we're going to crack on and replace these pads, and the first thing we've got to do is to put the car into brake servicing mode. Now this is something that I've covered in one of my other videos, so have a look at that. There is a kind of manual switch throttle technique for getting it into service mode. Apparently it doesn't work on all cars. I've had a few comments to say that some people have struggled with that. The alternative is to get yourself an onboard diagnostic interface like this, download the ForScan program, run it up on your laptop, and you'll find there is a means in the program to put the car into this service mode. Anyway, let's crack on. So pushing back the pistons, the fluid is going to come back into the reservoir, so I'm just going to release the cap on the reservoir like that. Okay, so let's get this into service mode. I'm going to hold down the foot brake and depress the handbrake switch, and that's going to release the handbrake, which is done. Now, to get it into service mode, holding down the throttle, I'm pushing down on the handbrake switch. I'm going to cycle the ignition, and we now just got to wait, ignoring all the alarms. And there we are. That's it into service mode. Okay, a quick tour of what we've got here. This is a single piston, they're all single piston frankly these days, caliper. So in order to center up the pads, this whole thing has to float, and it floats on the pins that are in here and down there. So in order to get this thing apart, we first of all got to release this wire clip here, and we've got to undo the bolts to take this part of the caliper off. So we're going to take the wire off to start with, unclip, and that's one side out, and the other side you're going to come. There we are, that's the wire out. Right, next we're going to pull off these covers. There's one, and there's number two, and I'm just having a feel inside. I think it's an Allen key. Let's find out what it is. Okay, it appears to be a 7mm Allen. So I'm just going to get this started with this tool. There it goes. I'll do the same down on the bottom one. There it goes. That's number two. Now, just to make life easy, I'm going to switch out, use an alternative tool. Pull that out. Now, there's a spindle, not in bad condition. Give that a clean up and a grease up in a while. Do the same with the bottom one. There she goes. And you can see the problem with these spindles is that they're really dry, and that's not good actually, because this whole thing's got to slide nicely. So this needs cleaning up and greasing up, and we'll do that later. Right, we now should be in a position where the caliper comes off, like so. Turn it over. There's one. Just having a quick exam. That looks all right there. And there's the other pad. Now what is interesting though is I've actually got a crack mark running straight through that pad. I don't know whether you can see it, but it's really dreadfully worn and needs replacing. Now all of this is in a pretty mucky state, so I think the first thing I do is give it a damn good clean. I'm going to use some brake cleaner, good old spray round. This breaks down all the muck and gets rid of that. I'm going to put a little bit down here as well, and a little bit over here, just to clean things up a little bit. Let's let that hang for a minute. Clean out. So this is a tool that I bought on the internet some time ago, and it's basically to push back caliper pistons. Now on a Mark IV you need to use this rotating part to rotate the piston back clockwise, but I'm told on the Mark V you just basically need to push the thing back, so I don't actually really need that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide the tool in. Let's just take it all the way back a little bit. Slide the tool in like this, and just turn this sideways in a second as soon as I got this in. There we are. Now if I turn it like that, I want to get this more onto the piston. There we go. And if I just squeeze up, you can see that piston is going back quite nicely. Just gently doing it all the way. There we go. There we are. That's all the way back. I can now release that, and that piston's back in. Fantastic. Right, the next thing then is to put the pads back in. So I'm just going to pop that down there for a second, like that, just hang it on there. So what I've also done is I've cleaned out these channels just with a screwdriver. This is where the pads are going to rest, and I want that to slide easily. And before I put the pads on, I'm going to put on a little bit of copper slip just over the ends here, like that, and like that. And I'm going to put a little bit just on the back, just to help it a little bit with the to slip it against the piston, just a little bit like that. Now, without getting anything on the pads, we're going to slide it in to place like that, and we do the same with the second one, and then just offer it up like that. There we are. Pads are in place. Now all we've got to do is put the caliper back on. So very much a reverse procedure of what we've already done. We're going to drop the caliper back on like that. These pins that we took out earlier, they were a bit mucky, so I've given them a bit of a clean up, and before we put them back, they were terribly dry as well, I'm going to give them not copper slip but just normal grease. I'm going to put on here like that, and we're going to have to move that out of the way. Go on, get in there. That's it. So just need to make sure to locate the caliper properly onto the pads. There's little cutouts here and here. Giving it a little waggle. There we are. It's down again now. Let's pull that out of the way. Right, this should now there, that's perfect. Right, we're going to see whether we can get a torque wrench onto this, just to torque it up properly. It should be 26 foot-pounds or 35 Newton meters. Well, it looks like I can get it on there. There we are. Okay, That's it torqued up. Put the dust covers back on. In you go, like that. So finally I've got to put this wire back in. I think probably the technique is, let's do it the way in which it came off, which is hook in one side, like that, hook in the other, like that, and what do you know? Very easy that was, well done. Anyway, there we are, we've got the first caliper done. So I'm going to move on now to the other side. So I'm just going to screw this cap back on. I don't know whether you can see this. This is the maximum line, but the fluid is now all the way up to maximum, which is great. Got a little bit of fluid back. There we are. So that's the second side done. Before I reset the service mode on the brakes, I'm going to start the engine and just pump the foot brake a little bit just to get the pads back against the disc, like that. Just there we are, nice and solid that is. Right, switch off. So resetting the service mode, we currently have the brake is off, it's in service mode. What I'm going to do is hold down the throttle. I'm going to lift up the switch for the handbrake with the ignition on, then cycle the ignition off, on, wait for it, it's coming, and the parking brake is back on. And there we are. Well, there you go. Fairly simple job actually. I thought it was pretty easy to do that, and certainly if you've got the right tools, it's something that you could actually tackle yourself. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Leave some comments, always read the comments, and think about subscribing as well. The one thing that might help you a little bit, I know I've got the piston retracting tool. They're very cheap actually, they're only about £10 or so on eBay. But if you haven't got one of those, another possibility of getting that piston back, because it does go back very easily, is to put the old pads back in and just use a screwdriver, just gently lever between the pads, and that piston I'm sure will go back. Anyway, hopefully that all made sense. Catch you on the next one. All the best for now. Bye.